I don't know if this is just me, but typically when I buy cars, I usually buy them used. That means that it's really hard to find the exact car with the exact specs and options that I want, typically leaving me in a spot where I have a few regrets about the car. For example, this BMW 435, I bought this car used in 2018. This is a 2015. It pretty much had everything that I wanted, the white exterior, the red interior, but there was an option that I really wanted that I didn't get, and that was the heads-up display. I think it was all part of the technology package. I could be wrong on that, but it was something that I definitely wanted on this car that it does not have. But that's fine though, because this was a used car and I saved a lot of money on it. And honestly, that's to be expected. If you're gonna try to find the exact car that you want used, you're gonna be waiting a long time. So I'm really not that upset about it. However, I do have some regrets with my G80 M3, which I ordered myself, and that's what I want to talk to you guys about today. So I'm gonna head over to another spot, my favorite spot to film videos before we really get into it. But before I do that, let's get a cold start. I know guys, the car is still quiet. I am working on getting an exhaust, so stay tuned. But for now, let me tell you guys some of my regrets. So let me clarify while I'm still driving. I didn't know about any of these things before I bought the car, because obviously if I knew, I probably would have spec'd the car differently. I did order this car and I did get to pick every single option on it. So if I knew, I probably would have done things differently. But even on that, although I regret these things, I don't necessarily think I would have spec'd the car any differently, even if I knew before. I know that might sound a little funny, but let's just get to the spot. I'll tell you guys exactly what I regret about this G80 M3, and I'll tell you why I probably want to have even spec'd the car any differently. And we made it. All right, guys, so now that I made it to my typical spot where I come to film, let me just get into the topic of this video and tell you guys exactly what I regret about this G80 M3. The first one is gonna relate to a recent video that I posted. If you guys didn't watch that video, I highly recommend it. I'll leave it linked somewhere above. But what that video is basically about was the interior of my G80 M3, and specifically ceramic coating it. So my first regret isn't that I ceramic coated the interior, because that's obviously not something you spec with the car. It's actually my choice of the interior. As you guys can see, I have the beautiful white ivory leather. I got the extended leather dash, and as beautiful as this interior is, I kind of regret going with the white. I'm sure a lot of you guys are gonna be like, oh yeah, I could have seen that coming. The white interior is not a practical choice to get. Now, to clarify a few things, I do not drive this car very often. This is my weekend car. It was my third car, so I thought the white wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you guys saw in that video that I was mentioning before, I've only owned this car like 2-3 months, and I've already stained the interior. I knew it was gonna happen, but I didn't think it was gonna happen that quick. If you guys saw in that last video, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But as you can tell, I like to wear black a lot, so the seats did have some like slight black marks on them, especially on the bolsters over here, and the worst was on the shoulders. However, you guys can now see there's not really any stains. That's because in the last video, I did end up cleaning the seats. I cleaned the armrest and everything else, like the door cards. And after that, I ended up ceramic coating the entire interior. So hopefully now this interior is gonna be better protected. The white is gonna stay white for longer, and it should be also protected from the UV rays. So it definitely makes having the white interior more practical, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, white interior is just not the move when it comes to practicality and longevity. Again, I didn't think it was gonna be that bad because I hardly drive the car, but it's been proving to be worse than I expected it to be. Again, I'm hoping the ceramic coating really helps with that, but I don't know yet. It's only been like a few days that I've had it, but I'll definitely keep you guys posted. But just in general, I kind of regret getting the white. I kind of wish I went with my other choice, which was the orange. I think the black car with the orange interior would have really popped. But looking back, would I have changed it? I don't know for sure, because again, orange is cool, but I just really love the white. But with that said, let's jump into my next regret, and that has to do with the brakes, and more specifically not getting the ceramic brakes that you could have gotten on the G80 and G82. I did spec the car with red calipers, which I really like, but overall I kind of wish I just got the ceramic brakes, because at the time I wasn't really too informed about them. Like, one, they create a lot less brake dust, which as you guys can tell from these wheels, this car generates a lot of brake dust, and 99% of the time these wheels just look bad, which is really unfortunate because these are really nice competition wheels. And then also another thing, probably the bigger thing, is the longevity of the brakes. Now, I'm not saying these brakes are gonna wear out really quickly. However, the ceramic brakes would have just lasted way longer. You have to change them way less than you would have with these brakes. And then the last thing about the ceramic brakes that makes me wish that I got them, and this might sound a little shallow, but I think they just look really cool. They come with the gold calipers. I think the gold calipers on this car would have looked amazing. The rotors themselves look really good. So do I regret not getting the ceramic brakes? Yes, I do. If I could go back, would I have done it any differently? I don't know. Because although there is more to the ceramic brakes than I originally thought, there's one thing that I still know now that I knew back then, And those brakes are not cheap. That option was almost like $10,000 on these cars. So if I could go back and do it again, would I? I don't know, probably not, because again, for the money, I don't know if it's worth it to me. So it is a regret, but at the same time, I probably wouldn't have done it any differently. All right, so moving on to my last big regret. It's actually something that people keep on asking me about, and that is not getting a manual. So if you guys don't know, this is a 2023 G80 M3 Competition X Drive. If you got a competition, by default, it came with an automatic, but you could option it with X Drive, so that's what I did. If you guys wanted a manual G80 M3, you had to go with the base model, which you couldn't get with X Drive. So to me, X Drive was very, very important on this M3. If you guys didn't know, this is the first M3 that you can even get with X Drive. So it being an all-wheel drive M3, to me is really cool. And not only is it all-wheel drive, you can actually switch it to two-wheel drive with just a switch of a button, something that you can do on the previous M5s as well. And then they brought that over to the M3s. In my opinion, you get the best of both worlds with a rear-wheel drive car and an X-Drive car. And again, it's the first time BMW did this on the M3, so I thought it would be something special now and also in the future when it comes to resale. However, like I mentioned earlier, that means that this car had to be an automatic and not a manual. And that's something that in a way I kind of regret, because as I'm sure you guys are already aware, this M2 that just came out is going to be the last BMW M car with a manual transmission. So that means no more manual M3s going forward. So this G80 M3 is the last generation that you could have gotten an M3 with a manual, and that is going to be very special, and I think something that holds value in the future. So I kind of regret not getting a manual in this last generation of M3 where it was even an option. However, at the same time, I really do value the X-Drive, and I think in the future, that's also going to be something that's desirable in these cars. What's going to be more desirable, a manual base model G80 M3 or an X-Drive competition automatic version of the G80 M3? I don't know. I'm sure both are going to be valuable. I'm sure the manual will probably be a little more value. I really don't know, guys. So there it is, guys. 3 things that I regret about my 2023 G80 M3. Now, like I said before, there was a lot of things that I didn't know before I bought this car, like the manual transmission being the last one in the G80 M3. I probably should have known, or it probably was known, but I didn't know it. Also, all those extra things that I learned about the ceramic brakes, and then also just how bad the white interior would be. Overall, I absolutely love this car. It has been a dream owning it, a dream driving it, modifying it. I'm not complaining by any means. I'm just letting you guys know about a few things that I regret. So hopefully, again, it helps you guys out. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you drop it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And yeah, with that said, this video is pretty much done, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.